All the weather data has been collected from the various sources and flashed from the forecasting stations over Army communications to the different commands. It promises to be good over a protracted enough period. The day is here. C-47s are loaded with paratroopers, but there's no guesswork where they're going to drop them. We've furnished them with markers for every dropping point. These markers have gone ahead of them. This paratrooper carries a radio beacon hooked onto his belt. It's the ground section of what's called the Rebecca Eureka system. His part is Eureka. It weighs only 27 pounds, including 25 feet of 2-inch extension cable. This receiver transmitter has 5 separate receiver and 5 separate transmitter frequencies. Without going into technicalities, here's generally how it operates. Our planes are looking for the dropping targets for the paratroopers. They carry the Rebecca airborne interrogators, which pick up Eureka's beacon and come in on it. Eureka gives them azimuth and range indication. They come in on the beacon with an accuracy of plus or minus of 200 yards. And their cargo of fighting men unloads. An objective is taken, not only because these men know their business, but because there was no guesswork about where they were going to drop. While they're battling inland to seize enemy communications, ground troops are battling their way up the beaches to an eventual junction with them. With the Normandy beachhead established, but with all the channel ports in enemy hands, these great man-made harbors were towed across the channel and into place. Then something happened. Something against which the odds were about 100 to 1. A winter storm hit the channel in midsummer, the worst in 80 years. One of our great seagoing harbors was terribly damaged, but through the other one poured supplies. If the invasion had happened 13 days later, the disaster to us would have made the Spanish Armada look like a picnic, and its effect on the outcome of the European war would have been incalculable. Long-range weather forecasting couldn't foretell that 100 to 1 shot, but it gave us those 13 days. In spite of initial setbacks in France, we were building up strength in men and materiel. We were also building up communication. Headquarters of the Signal Service for an army is the exact nerve center of that army. Here's the message center through which pass all messages between the First Army, all other American field armies, our allies, and Supreme Allied Field Headquarters. Here, all outgoing messages are encoded and all incoming messages decoded. This code machine does both automatically. A constant stream of traffic goes through here by teletype, wireless, telephone, and radio. This carrier equipment is one of the most revolutionary developments in signal communications. The telephone carrier equipment provides 4 telephone channels from 2 physical circuits. When it's used with the telegraph carrier equipment, one of the telephone channels is used to provide 4 additional teletype or telegraph channels, making 7 channels in all. In addition, there are 2 ground simplex circuits. As an example of how this signal service works, a messenger plane lands not far from headquarters. The pilot hands over a map. Cleared through the message center, it is sent by facsimile to intelligence. From there, the information it contains reaches the artillery. And the target designated on the map is smashed. Another obstacle in the path of our troops knocked out. Back in the England we had lately left, the southern counties and London in particular had been taking a terrible beating. Although raids by enemy planes had ceased to be more than an occasional nuisance, Jerry had come up with a new instrument of terror. Militarily ineffective in the long run, intended primarily for use against a helpless civilian population. Over 5,000 were killed, over 23,000 houses completely destroyed, over 1 million damaged. Although the civilians faced it with the same bravery with which they'd faced the previous kinds of bombing raids, there was no doubt about the buzz bomb's terrifying quality. Londoners were again being evacuated in great numbers. But unless something was done, London might be leveled. Air superiority couldn't protect England from this new, terrible aerial weapon. Allied bombers searched out their secret launching platforms, but still they came. Fighter pilots shot them out of the air, even learned how to nudge them off their course with their wings, but still they came. The Germans evidently didn't know how far we had advanced on radar designed to direct ack-ack fire. That type of radar can track any target moving up to the speed of 600 miles an hour. After an adjustment of the gun directors, anti-aircraft fire was knocking the terror weapons down in hundreds, often before they reached the coastline. Meanwhile, our bombers continued to find them. And as we swept through France and the Low Countries, we first isolated the rocket coast, then captured it. The end of another enemy menace. Onto every beach we land on go the units called Joint Assault Signal Companies. Joint because they're roughly 1/4 Navy and 3/4 Army personnel. Their first job to fight their way ashore. They carry carbines, machine guns, submachine guns, rocket launchers, rifles, automatic pistols. Their second job, to set up communications under enemy fire on the first piece of dry land they hit. To direct Navy artillery support. Air support. Keep the ground troops in constant touch with what the score is. Everyone, no doubt, has seen many pictures of the first wave going ashore during many amphibious operations. But how many have even stopped to think about who took the picture? Somebody had to be there ahead of the first wave to do it. The Army photographer of the Army Pictorial Service, trained at the Signal Corps Photographic Center. Everywhere the Army is, you'll find the Army photographers recording history play by play. Combat photography, however, is only one aspect of Army Pictorial Service.